illustration of how I found meaning in my work. Even when I knew my work wasn't aligned with my, totally aligned with my deepest self. So what I'd like to do right now is talk about what you think, what meaningful work means to you. So when you see that word, I'm sorry, I hit the mic. When you see that word, what comes up for you? How do you think about meaningful work?
It's fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what else?
Helps people.
Yeah.
That's me.
That's all I say.
Say it makes money.
What else?
I don't know if it's the same thing as fulfilling, but gives you satisfaction.
I'm gonna feel like you made a difference.
Yeah.
A sense of integrity.
Uh-huh.
Purpose?
Yeah.
But also something has to pay the bills.
That's fair. It has to be the bill.
Somebody has to pay the bills.
There's gotta be some money
You know
there.
what? I love that because that's true. We tend to, downplay that sometimes or feel like it's evil or something, but we need this to survive, pretty much.
Also something that goes to your passion, I guess.
Uh-huh. Okay, so these are a lot of great things. I'm going to stop because I ran out of room. All right. And Victoria, did you say that the theme tonight is serve?
Support.
Support. Okay, support. So, love that tie-in because, absolutely, I totally agree. It's helping people and, making a difference. I totally agree with all these, but these two really connect to that support. You're not just, probably most of you want to maybe earn some money while you're doing these things. And it, makes it more palatable if you can do both. So, so is your work meaningful right now? Just shout out yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of yeses. Good. Any no's? You don't even have to. No. Okay.
No.
No, all right. So, tell me the yeses. Tell me why your work is meaningful.
I'm helping people. I get satisfaction out of it. I'm making a difference for the people I'm working with. It's my passion. I do earn some money. It's all of the stuff on there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Anybody else want to share your why it's meaningful?
Well, I'll say I am retired from my career. However, in retirement, I am finding that new purpose where I don't necessarily need the dollars at the bottom, but I have those other things.
Yeah. That's fabulous.
And it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't always have that while I was working.
Yeah. That's great. I think one of the really tough things with retirement is that people can fall out of that communal aspect of work that's doing things together with people and for people can be missing in retirement. So that's fabulous that you find something that fills in those, because those can be blanks for people. Or even if you're not doing, like when I first started my coaching business, things were very, very slow. And as I started to have some customers, I realized that, that's what I was missing, was talking to people and feeling like I'm making a difference for them. Like just sitting there writing blogs and being on, Facebook is like not that satisfying, but talking to people is. So, yeah, okay. Those who are not fulfilled in your work, what are some of the reasons that you're not fulfilled?
Well, in the beginning it was money driven, but now my kids are older and I feel like I'm ready for the next step of figuring out like that's not all that I need anymore. And I need to transition to more.
Yeah. In what way is it not all that you need?
Well, I mean, I still need to make money, but it's not the only goal anymore.
Okay, so it's just clicking the money box and you want it to do more.
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. Anybody else want to share why not?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not there anymore. I left the company after 23 years, but for 20 of it, it was very fulfilling because, I was in management and I was able to support team members and help them and give them the tools that they needed. And I loved that.
Mhm.
And then there came a time when the company was having a bad year and all of the integrity that they spouted for years
Yeah.
just came crashing down, and I was expected to be duplicitous with the team. And so, I got out of there as soon as I could
Right.
because I wasn't willing to do that. And that, I mean, and I've heard that since then. I've heard it from so many other people that those culture values don't mean crap, when it gets tough.
Yeah.
So the expectation is basically just to be dishonest and kind of trick people. You've got this corporate doublespeak to try to convince people to be happy with getting screwed.
Yeah, it can definitely get like that. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I got, other than it being a corporation, but one of the reasons I got turned off with American Express, for example, was that the president stood up there and told us that, he says, do you know what our biggest product service is, our most profitable service in the company? And then he said, traveler's checks.
Okay.
But the reason, why would travelers checks
People
be
lose
that
them.
profitable? And this was, he said this in probably 98 or 99, so, it makes really little sense now. But I don't know, it still might be true because the reason it was profitable was because people would forget to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they became fat off of people's forgetfulness, which to me was like throw up city, because so we're in business to exploit people,
Right.
and we're proud of that. We think that's fun to make money in that way. I couldn't understand that. I had been telling myself it's cool to have a credit card in a way because you can carry all this money with you on a piece of plastic. That's nice. I like credit cards for that reason. But yeah, when they do stuff like that, it's disgusting. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few things to think about in terms of creating your meaningful work. And I use the word creating pretty deliberately because especially job seekers, they're like about finding something. And this isn't about finding it. It's about, first of all, sitting right where you are and creating it in whatever you're doing. And if you are in a situation where you're doing some work that you don't want to be doing anymore, getting a little bit more grounded where you're at and finding more meaning where you're at will help you to more effectively go make it happen somewhere else. Is very much an economy and a time where people are creating their own work. I don't know anybody's career in here, but I know Victoria is like that, and I'm like that. We've created what we're doing now. So number one, sorry about hitting the mic. Number one is to define your purpose. And some of you might be in, if you're retired, that might be a lot easier to really, click into your purpose and find something to do that fits that. But if you're in a situation that you don't like so much right now and it doesn't connect to a why, like you're there just for money, then think about what the money gives you and reframe it. So be say, I'm here because it's providing me with better health. I'm here because it's providing me with the opportunity to give things to my family. I'm here, because I can eat, whatever it is that, you want to connect to, just be thinking about that. And that can be part of your why. And that can be part of what you're grateful for. Mindset is another big thing. So are you familiar with growth versus fixed mindset?
Could you expand on it, please?
Yeah. So this was defined by Carol Dweck. And what it is that a lot of people have the belief that if they're not good at something, especially adults believe this, if they're not good at something, end of story. And then there's this other, idea of growth mindset that you can always get better at whatever. And when I first heard about it, I was like, well, that's the most obvious thing ever. I totally get it. Like, why would you not be? But then I realized that I'm not at all, because I started counting all the things that I thought I was no good at. Marketing is my favorite one that I think I'm not good at. It's not that I'm not good at marketing. It's that I don't know how to do it. I've never done it. Now I have, but in the past I had never done it. So sometimes you might think of something that you're suddenly called upon to do. For us right now, technology is a huge thing. So you might feel like, oh, I'm no good with these new technology things, and I'm certainly not like these younger people. Well, they had some advantages that you didn't have. So it might not be that you're not good at technology. It's just that you're not practiced with it. And if you wanted and started to have some practice with it, you could change that. So the person who thinks, oh, I'm no good at technology, that's fixed mindset. We don't really know if you are. We have no data. You haven't tried, spent enough time with it to know that you're no good at it. And the people who are like, a new, thingamabob, I'm going to master that. I'm going to learn everything I need to about how this will help me in my life. I'm going to read all about that and play around with it. That's the growth mindset. The third one I'm really happy to have on my list is service, because it really ties into what you're saying and this theme of support. And I actually have something from the Bible. So I don't know how to. Does anybody know how to read these things?
Read these things.
What would you say, Mark 10?
Mark 10, 43 to 45.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servants, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. So love that. I know that Jesus said a lot about service, and certainly, no better role model in that category. Then there's being aware of resistance to doing what you want to do, to doing what you want to, what would be meaningful to you. Did you do something before writing, or have you just always been a writer?
I was a teacher.
A teacher, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just using Victoria again because I know a little bit about her. So like Victoria and I, people didn't leave corporate America to go off and be a coach. Sometimes it happens a little bit, but it was really bizarre. Like I had never heard of anybody in my company that had done it. I did it twice, and people just don't do that. So there's a lot of cultural resistance, but there's also resistance in your own mind because you grew up with your parents' messages, for your first at least 18 years, probably much longer, and that really affects. Those voices are in your head. They have been implanted there. And you often have to overcome these things that are telling you ways that it's supposed to be. And, going off to Tibet, might not be consistent with that. So when you say you're going to go off to Tibet, there's a lizard that lives in your brain, the most primitive parts of the brain. They don't like that at all because they're just about survival. That's the only thing they care about. And, they like money, for example, but they don't want you to leave the room, really, because that's dangerous. So there's so much resistance that you need to overcome to make, to be able to play into and lean into the things that you want to do. Self-validation, so giving yourself the validation and not living for and seeking too much external validation. So I think, that one's fairly obvious one. The other one with validation is that you can get validation in the act itself. And I like to think of it, like I've read, have you ever heard of the washing dishes meditation? So it's like this
That sounds
idea.
Terry said it sounds awful.
Yeah. So whatever you're doing, you're washing dishes, you get into it totally. You're like, oh, I'm cleaning this dish. It's so satisfying. To rub this thing around, and you focus on it intricately and intensely, and pretty soon it's like becomes very like when you get so present, it starts to get fun. And
I enjoy
breaking them
washing dishes, I
against
agree
a
with you.
wall might be fun.
And then my favorite one is answering the call. So, the next part is largely drawn, or actually exclusively drawn from a book called Soul's Code by James Hillman that I think Oprah made famous back in the day, like in the 90s. So James Hillman taught, and he's a Jungian, so I like that. He talks about the daemon, and the daemon is like this inner voice, this inside thing that has the sense of what it is you're supposed to be doing. And to me, this gets very divine because, think about it. There are, I don't know how many, 8 billion of us or whatever, 6 billion, I don't know. And we are all unique, right? So we have 7 billion purposes. We have 7 billion different callings. We have a completely unique set of gifts that divinity has bestowed upon us. And it's our duty to get out there and play to the gifts that we were given. If we don't, then it's like we're saying to divinity, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna, like in my case, go make money in corporate America, whatever. So there's this calling. And so that seed is called the daemon. There's also this idea that I really love because this is the 90s. So he talked about respecting diversity. In this case, he's meaning diversity in the sense of what you pursue. So like you gotta, especially younger people, it's important to pursue, different things so that you have an opportunity to choose. Because usually a lot of us, operate on default. So, we just do whatever's in front of us and make little decisions about the things that are, already very easy to find. But this is about like deliberately going out there and finding very diverse things. And then calling and community, putting the two together. So it's and this idea that you were put here to do something for other people, for the world, for the universe. And if you're not doing that, you're letting others down. So I was going to do a written exercise, but
We didn't bring the paper.
You didn't bring it.
We have.
Yeah, we have
Any
stuff.
paper and pen.
okay, you got paper? Cool.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Could I just add one thing
Yes.
to our list?
Yes,
You
please.
know, as I was looking at all these things, probably the most important to me is that it needs to be challenging.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, not too easy.
Good
Because,
one.
there's parts of my job that are fulfilling. I definitely work and help people. There's some satisfaction with that. I make a difference, but not a big difference. I definitely feel like I work with integrity. I have purpose, I have passion. It pays the reason why I still work at this stage of my life is because they give me money for doing something that's relatively simple for me. But the biggest thing that I would push back on all of those is the fact that my job is no longer challenging.
I see, yeah. Yeah. I love that because I think it connects with our gifts, right? Like, have people heard of flow?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you haven't heard of flow, it's by this guy named Nahalia. And
Very
he
long,
wrote a
very
book
difficult to spell.
called Flow. Yeah, it's spelled just like it sounds. Okay.
Okay.
So he wrote a book called Flow, and the idea with flow is that, and you've all been there, it's that state when you lose all sense of time. Actually, I'm going to ask you about that in a second, where you are so engaged in what you're doing, like you sat down at 3 and suddenly it became 6:30 and you had no idea. It felt like it was 3:20, and you were having fun. And he said that what gets you into flow is this very specific competency to do something and the challenge of it. And when it's like at this sweet spot of, kind of between not challenging and really hard, somewhere in the middle, there's this, optimally challenging and calling upon your competence at this optimal level. When you hit that, that's your sweet spot and you find the flow. So love this because I think it links into your gifts and why you're here and all of to serve people, to make a difference, to help people, and that I think that feeling of fulfillment and all that can really come when you're matched up with your why, what's meaningful to you and what you're good at, because it's not random that you're good at whatever you're good at. It's a purposeful design. Okay, so here's the journal exercises I want to do for creating meaningful work. So this is about discovering, what your gifts are and this is specifically about those gifts. So what activities or tasks make you lose track of time and feel fully engaged?
Is that the name?
Something like that. It's pretty close.
Oh my
Wow.
I'm not sure. It's close. I don't know if it's totally accurate.
That's the person who wrote Flow?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
But that's an easier way to put it.
Flow. It's just crazy.
And then the next one would be, when do I feel most confident and capable in my abilities?
Who was it?
And the final one is, think about it back to a time when I achieved something significant. What skills or qualities did I use to accomplish it?
Say that one again, please.
Think about a time when you achieved something significant. What skills or abilities did you use to accomplish it?
Ghosts.
Well, maybe it was.
Okay, would anybody like to share? Anything you come up with?
I can. What else?
Mine are embarrassing.
You're not.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I can go first. So the first one was like, what do you really can lose yourself in?
Yeah, can lose yourself.
So for me, it's writing fiction, particularly the novels, or even editing for other people. I can completely lose myself in it, and it's like 6 hours later, and I have no idea where the time went. So I have to set alarms all the time.
Yeah.
Like when the second one was, when are you most confident? I think I'm in the middle of it. I'm like, I'm the best thing ever. It's cool. But then I'm like, crap. But then like when I've actually produced something for someone, I'm like super confident. And the last one What was that? What do you use to
The skills that were.
skills?
So
I mean,
sometime you overcame something
yeah.
that skills did.
for me, it's like attention to detail. It's also perseverance and tenacity, and just like making sure I complete the task.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a roadmap for you, Victoria,
Mhm.
where, somewhere down the line, if you're feeling like you're not fulfilled, just check back in with that. That's your GPS system
Yep.
for, okay, I must not be doing these things enough.
That's why I left corporate.
Yeah.
Don't
And
be
so I
embarrassed.
think about the corporate, so you talked very much about leaving corporate, and yet all I did was shift corporate, right? So from my perspective, I'm not sure if you were asking for other people, or I'm just glad.
Oh, please, yeah.
Okay, so for me, I was a business lead, but I wasn't a leader. And I was doing the same thing over and over again. It was rather boring. I was no longer challenged. I was no longer feeling that my contribution was recognized. I was no longer feeling satisfaction in it. So I went for a management position, which is kicking my ass. But when I feel my best work is when I'm organizing or analyzing, and strangely enough, praying for someone else in terms of what's going on in their space. And when I was most capable is when I took a problem that we were all looking at and going, oh my God, what in the world are we gonna do here? And I said, look, you gotta stop looking at this point, and you gotta just, you can't, I work in corporate America with insurance. And
Okay.
we were trying to set up for the exchange years ago,
Mhm.
and we were trying to set up a system for 2 years past. And there was no reason to do that. There was no business value to doing that. Everything we were doing was not working. I said, forget it. Go here where we have to be
Yeah.
and move forward, and we will keep using that in the old historical system. And it was a risk for my career, it was a risk for my management to do that, and we went with it. And then the significance is, as you go into that, you have to keep facing all the challenges and not give up and not, I mean, you could eventually say, well, that didn't work and try to go back. But in this case, that would have put us even further behind.
Yeah.
So it was facing those challenges and looking for different people that you could pull in that knew what they knew and could contribute to the cause.
Mhm.
It wasn't thinking I knew exactly how to do it.
Right.
I had the idea, but I needed a whole bunch of other people to help me move it forward.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, so there's a lot in there. I would encourage you to really unpack it, so it sounds like there's some strategy, there's improving things, there's recruiting people and influencing probably.
Yep.
So unpack those things, and then, like Victoria, you'll have this GPS you can look at no matter what you're doing. You can be like, oh, I need more of these things in there. Would anyone else like to share?
Mine's just all over the place because my life is all over the place. I was a teacher and now I'm home with a lot of children, 4 of them. Feels like 10. What do I lose myself in is funny because it's like, you guys have like, oh yeah, when I'm doing my job, I'm like, jigsaw puzzles. I like creative things.
Right.
Cooking, that kind of stuff. When I'm not like on a deadline of screaming children. And then it was hard, like things when I feel like I am accomplishing something, I immediately went back to career stuff, right? And that's part of the struggle of purpose right now. Like, did I dream of being a stay-at-home mom? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I had a career that I really liked, and I am making myself find value in being at home. And I know a lot of people would love to be home. And so I guess I'm lucky in that regard, but I've told him this before, so it's okay. But it also feels trapped sometimes, right? Like with his job and the number of children that we have, I am not kidding myself. Like if I went to work, like, oh, just leave, let the kids stay with you, go find your career. You can do that. And I'm like, yeah. And then I do everything I'm still doing and work 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sounds like a terrible idea. But when I know that I'm in my zone, it always is classroom oriented, right? When I've got a bunch of, weirdly, I don't want to be with my own 4 kids. I want to be with 25 other people's kids.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm in my zone of management and relationships. And then even still, it was hard, think about a time that you've overcome something shoot, I've been home for 6 years. I don't know. One time I got all the laundry done in 7 days. That took a lot of dedication. Timers everywhere. So it's just weird because I'm in this weird, this is not, I have to do something else. But I also know that this is time that I won't regret.
Yeah.
You know, just all the things.
Right.
So mine is embarrassing because it's like
That sounds
jigsaw
embarrassing.
puzzles and doing my nails.
But also think about church. I mean, I don't want to take that for all of it. Think about what some of us and some of you in particular, what you did. You redesigned what we were doing from a church perspective.
Yeah, and actually that is one thing that I was thinking of when I was like, okay, even this, like you guys know this isn't easy, right? Like we were just like that was good until it wasn't. And then how do we create something new? And there's a lot of showing up even if you don't want to, doing the hard work even if you don't want to, delegating, communication, being vulnerable in like how you're feeling about things, and then literally just showing up and showing up and showing up.
Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah. So, again, think about like those things like, what is it about puzzles that is satisfying? It could be putting things together. It could be seeing the bigger picture. It could be seeing how things fit into the bigger picture. Could just be creativity.
Oh yeah, that's a total. I guess that makes sense with all my half done. I also have ADHD, so it makes it very difficult because I'll have these big projects. I'm like, I'm gonna redo this whole room, and then I redo 3/4 of it and walk away.
I've seen them build things.
Yeah.
Like
I hear you can build things.
I can
Yeah.
halfway.
closet doors.
halfway.
Oh, maybe you're construction.
These are
closet doors.
These are probably, let's build some more.
Excellent. So, do you have any questions?
Anybody?
So I was struck, and I don't know what this means. I'm interested in your thoughts. So, like you said, the first one, like, when you can just lose yourself?
Yeah.
I feel like I can't. Like, I always know, like, what time it is, what's going on, like, what's next. Like, what do I do with that?
He does.
Even
need
in
a
sports,
passion?
Yeah.
like 5 seconds in that little square under the basket thing, whatever that. Like you gotta know. Like you don't video game. Oh, you don't play video.
Do you want to always know what time it is?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah,
I think I want to.
that could be part of it. Like, I'm not saying this is you, but I'm saying somebody who has that. It could be that, like control and sense of, how long things are taking and that they should take a certain amount of time. Some of those desires could get in the way of like this spontaneity that arises with, when you get into flow. So, what I would say is just think about it going forward and, see if it happens or try to tune into what is most enjoyable, what that feels like. And then, that'll be how you can start figuring out these things. Because, it's nice to be in flow, but I was just using it as a way to access
Sure.
what it is that you find fulfilling and what your gifts are. So there's a few different ways.
Well, Leslie said, what do you find fulfilling? I mean, this has been a great topic for me to think about and discuss because this has been something I've always struggled with. I have I work my job primarily for money, to support my family, to be able to support other causes. It's not fulfilling day to day. I also don't feel like we're destroying the world, so I don't have to weigh the
Right.
It's not like, well, I'm screwing everyone else so that I can support my family, but it's also not like we're not changing the world. We're not really doing anything. So that's always been a struggle of mine. Is I'm like, I wish I could find something more fulfilling to do on a day-to-day basis. But over time, and we've talked about this a lot, I've kind of reconciled it with I can take the money I'm making and do other things and support the family and support the church and do whatever else.
Yeah.
With that, use my work as a means to accomplish something good, even if it's not necessarily on a day-to-day basis, like helping people.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like make sure that your family and the church and things that you find really meaningful, that you can see those pictures of your family and stuff or something to represent the church from right where you're typically working, so that you can constantly be reminded.
Well, see, I think that's what I do. My office, Leslie's joking, my office is full of stuff that reminds me of, I mean, this isn't necessarily intentionally why I do it,
Yeah.
but as you say that, that's probably exactly why I do it. Like,
Yeah.
I've got pictures of the family, I've got church stuff, I've got sports stuff, I've got basically all the things that remind me of the experiences that this job lets me do.
Yeah.
Is what all is all around me in my office.
Right, yeah, that's fabulous, I love that. Yeah, one thing that comes up for me sometimes, I'm here in Naperville, caregiving, my parents, and not, full-time, but as part of what I do. And, sometimes when that gets stressful or, to be a bummer or something, I'll remind myself, I'll be like, well, that's why I do the kind of work that I do, so that I can be like, all right, just run over to their nursing home or go do whatever in the middle of the day. So, that's another, if the stress of, that, because it disrupts my work, but then I can be grateful for the flexibility that I have. So, all right, yes.
My situation, I think, is a little bit kind of unique in the fact that, first off, as far as my job was concerned, I've worked in auto parts all my life. My brother called me up when I was 15 years old and asked me if I wanted a job, and I've been doing it ever since. I've started at the very bottom, worked till I had my own parts store, and that worked for about 12 years, and then we sold the business to another company, and I went to work for them, and I've been doing it ever since. It's something that I'm really good at. It's something that's really simple for me because I've done it forever and ever. But that's not really the thing that's important to me. The thing that's really important to me is personal growth. And when I say personal growth, what I'm talking about is 5 years ago, I decided that I was going to transition from male to female.
Mhm.
And at the time, it seemed absolutely impossible.
Uh-huh.
But during the last 5 years, I've spent tons of time, tons of thought, read lots of things, watched videos, and got input from a whole bunch of different people, worked with a therapist. It's been an amazing thing, and it's not something that I would suggest to somebody else at the age of 68 that you should go out and decide that you're going to transition and change genders. But for me, it gave my life a new purpose.
Yeah.
And it's been absolutely a wonderful experience, something that I thought was absolutely impossible, and it touched on almost all the things we had written up there. It certainly was very challenging and remains challenging, but it's also very, very satisfying.
That's awesome. That's great. One of the list is gone, but one of the really cool things that you're doing, which is so amazing, is being a role model for so many people. That's amazing.
Well, I've been pretty public about it from the very beginning, and I don't know that I did it so that I could help other people. I think I did it because it helps me, and the fact that I've received a lot of support from people that I know and friends that I've made and family members that have been just so much help. But I've made it public, and I talk about it all the time, and I'm honest about it. And after spending most of my life pretending to be someone that I really wasn't, it's such a wonderful experience just being myself. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Any other shares or questions?
Do we want to wrap up?
Yeah, we can wrap
keep
up and
going.
have discussion
Okay.
after too. So if you have a closing or if you're good.
Yeah. I wanted to just tell you about my website in case you're interested in seeing more. So I call my coaching Love Monday, and it's lovemonday.net. And I have on there, I'm not blogging at the moment much, but you can sign up for a love letter and blog. I'm kind of retooling, but the blog is about, how you can love what you do. So it's about consciousness and stuff like that. I used to have like job searching tips and things. I'm not gonna do that in there. This is gonna be about, the quality experience type stuff. All right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.